Society has a joke about you. They call you the crazy cat lady, the socially detached loner, or the villain stroking a white Persian in a dark room. But here is the reality they are too afraid to face. Some of the most powerful minds in history, from Isaac Newton and Albert Einstein to the god kings of ancient Egypt, didn't want a servant. They wanted an equal. Why would the people who move the world, people who have everything, spend their lives serving a creature that completely ignores their existence? The answer isn't cuteness. It's a sophisticated neurological blueprint that only the most secure and independent minds possess. Most people are addicted to external validation. They are terrified of silence and desperate for a like or a follow to feel worthy. But your love for cats reveals something much deeper. You have a nervous system strong enough to exist without applause. This is the psychology of the elite. This is the power of indifference. We live in a culture that equates presence with performance. If you don't broadcast your inner world, you are labeled as cold. If you don't seek constant interaction, you are called antisocial. But this misunderstanding is where the myth of the cat person began. Think about the psychology of a dog lover for a moment. A dog is a biological mirror for your ego. You come home, it explodes with energy, it treats you like the center of the universe, it provides instant, cheap dopamine. For many, that's not a companion. It's an emotional servant that validates their need to be important. But a cat? A cat doesn't perform for you. It observes you from the top of the refrigerator, entirely unimpressed by your job title or your bank account. To a weak ego, this indifference is an insult. It feels like rejection. But to a person with high internal self-esteem, this is a sanctuary. Successful leaders and deep thinkers are surrounded by yes men all day. They live in a world of transactions where everyone wants something from them. A cat is the only thing they cannot bribe, manipulate, or command. When you earn the affection of a cat, you aren't buying loyalty. You are witnessing a voluntary choice. This brings us to the aesthetic of distance. In psychology, there is a magnetic pull toward what we cannot control. We call this ego purification. When you are with a cat, you are stripped of your social masks. You are no longer a CEO, a doctor, or a celebrity. You are just a human being in your rawest form. People who are drawn to cats understand a fundamental truth about human relationships that most miss. Intimacy is not about noise. It is about shared silence. While a dog's love is a commodity distributed to anyone with a treat, a cat's love is a rare currency. It requires patience, attunement, and above all, respect for boundaries. You don't own a cat. You coexist with it. This is why artists and writers have gravitated toward cats for centuries. A cat doesn't invade your space. It protects the conditions that intelligence needs to function. It allows you to think deeply without the constant demand to perform emotion. If you can love a creature that doesn't need you, you have achieved a rare level of emotional autonomy. You have realized that your value doesn't depend on someone else's tail wagging. But don't be fooled into thinking this is just a quiet hobby. Beneath that calm surface lies a masterclass in behavioral manipulation. While you think you are observing the cat has already hacked your brain's reward system, turning you into a willing participant in one of the most successful biological hijackings in the history of evolution. Why do we stay in toxic relationships? Why do gamblers lose their fortunes to slot machines they know are rigged? The answer lies in a dark corner of behavioral psychology called intermittent reinforcement. Most creatures, including humans, become bored with a predictable world. If you push a button and a reward always falls out, you eventually go on autopilot. But if that reward is unpredictable, if sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's replaced by a cold stare, your brain goes into a state of obsession. It becomes a dopamine maze. The cat is the ultimate master of this psychological game. Unlike the dog's predictable devotion, a cat's affection is a variable reward. One day, it curls into your neck as if you are its entire world. The next, it walks past you like you are a piece of furniture. This unpredictability creates a biological high. You find yourself hyper-attuned to every twitch of a whisker, every subtle shift in posture, subconsciously hunting for that next hit of validation. Cat people aren't just pet owners. They are individuals whose nervous systems have been trained to find value in the rare and the earned. They have mastered the art of internal locus of control. While the rest of the world is desperately chasing external applause, cat people have realized that their worth isn't a transaction. This is where the psychological separation happens. In a society suffering from toxic positivity where you are forced to be available, smiling, and on at all times, the cat is a silent rebellion. It doesn't perform happiness for your benefit. It doesn't apologize for its silence. When it is tired, it sleeps. When it wants space, it disappears. It feels zero guilt for its indifference. For the high achiever or the deep thinker, this is a profound relief. They see in the cat a mirror of their own desire to stop performing for the world. They realize that if this creature can be indifferent and still be loved, perhaps they don't have to kill themselves to please everyone else either. This isn't laziness, it's energy optimization. It is the wisdom of knowing when to withdraw from the noise to protect your internal fire. But there is a much more uncomfortable question we have to face. Is your attachment to this creature truly a choice of your own making? Or are you a victim of a biological Trojan horse? Deep within the neurons of many cat lovers hides a microscopic invader called Toxoplasma Gondii. This parasite doesn't just live in the cat, it needs the cat to survive. And to get there, it has evolved the terrifying ability to rewrite the fear response in the mammalian brain, turning a natural aversion into a fatal attraction. You think you chose this bond because of your superior intellect or your refined taste, but the chilling reality of dark biology suggests that you might just be a pawn in a microscopic game of survival. There is a reason why a cat, a solitary predator designed for lethal efficiency, can make you feel an almost irrational urge to protect it. Your brain isn't responding to logic, it is responding to a biological Trojan horse. Ethologists call this the baby schema, a set of physical cues, from large eyes to rounded heads, that evolution hardwired into the human brain to ensure the survival of our own young. Domestic cats have spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of mimicking these cues. When a cat looks at you, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought, gets bypassed. Instead, the amygdala and the hypothalamus take over, releasing a flood of oxytocin and caretaking impulses. You think you are observing a pet. In reality, your brain has registered an infant. But the hack goes deeper than just visual appearance. A cat's purr isn't just a pleasant sound. It is a biomechanical tool. Operating at a low frequency between 25 and 150 Hz, the purr acts as a natural healing mechanism that lowers human blood pressure and reduces muscle tension. It is co-regulation without a single word being spoken. For the person who spends their day in high-stakes environments, this isn't just companionship. It is a neurological recovery system that allows the body to downshift from fight or flight into a state of deep, restorative safety. But we must confront the darkest layer of this biological bond. What if your love for cats isn't just a psychological preference, but a parasitic manipulation? Enter Toxoplasma Gondii. This microscopic organism can only reproduce inside the digestive tract of a cat. To get there, it has evolved a terrifying ability to hijack the brains of other mammals. In mice, it erases the innate fear of cat scent and replaces it with a fatal attraction, steering the prey directly into the predator's mouth. In humans, research suggests that this parasite may subtly rewrite our neural pathways, altering dopamine levels and dampening our natural aversion to the risks associated with these predators. It is a chilling thought that a portion of the human population might be infected with a biological urge to love the very creature that evolution should have taught us to avoid. This theory unsettles us because it threatens our sense of agency. We want to believe our love is pure, but biology suggests it might be a chemical nudge. Yet, for the cat lover, this distinction doesn't matter. Whether the bond is driven by ancient instincts or a microscopic passenger, the result is the same. The nervous system feels regulated. In a chaotic world, that feeling of safety is the only truth that matters. This biological attunement creates what we call the apex mindset. While a dog looks up to you and a horse looks across at you, a cat looks through you. This is why the most analytical and creative minds, the writers, the programmers, the strategists, are so often drawn to them. These are people who operate in the realm of deep focus and flow. In this state, any interruption is a fracture of thought. A dog's demand for attention is a distraction. A cat's presence is a quiet validation of the work. They don't interrupt your solitude. They curate it. They represent the lethal efficiency of thought, the ability to sit still for hours, observant and patient, before striking with a single decisive idea. To love a cat is to admire the predator within yourself, the part of you that doesn't need to bark to be heard and doesn't need to chase to be powerful. You aren't just keeping a pet, you are living with a mirror of your own autonomy. You are practicing the ultimate form of respect, the ability to coexist with a creature that remains, in its heart, entirely wild and utterly unmastered. Human relationships are a minefield of unspoken demands. We are expected to respond instantly, to explain our moods, to reassure those around us, and to match the emotional energy of the room. Even affection often comes with a hidden price tag. Why aren't you more expressive? Why don't you need me the way I need you? For the sensitive, the observant, or the high achiever, this constant negotiation is exhausting. It is a drain on the very nervous system that needs to be preserved for deep work and strategic thinking. This is where the cat person's social intelligence begins to diverge from the crowd. A cat never assumes access to you. Its affection is a proposal, not an ultimatum. When it chooses to sit on your lap, it does so without the expectation of eye contact, conversation, or emotional performance. And when it leaves, it requires no justification. This mutual respect for boundaries creates something rare in the modern world: connection without intrusion. Psychologically, this aligns with a sophisticated attachment style. Cat people are not avoidant of intimacy, they are avoidant of pressure. They understand that closeness is deeper when it is allowed to breathe, and that safety isn't found in intensity, it's found in mutual consent. This mastery of consent makes cat people uniquely equipped for high-stakes human dynamics. In a world where most people try to control their environment through force or manipulation, the cat owner has spent years practicing the art of attunement. You cannot command a cat, you can only invite it. You learn to read the flick of a tail, the subtle shift in posture, and the change in breathing. You learn that trust is a fragile currency that must be earned and maintained daily. This translates directly into social and professional excellence. While others are tone-deaf to the unspoken boundaries of their colleagues or partners, cat people are hyper-aware of the invisible lines. They don't test loyalty through drama. They value voluntary alignment. This is why they are often the most effective negotiators. They don't panic when faced with silence or indifference. While others feel a desperate need to fill the gap or please the crowd, a cat person is comfortable in the quiet. They know that the most valuable connections aren't the loudest ones. They are the ones rooted in the freedom to say no. For those who have experienced boundary violations, whether emotional, psychological, or relational, the bond with a cat is a form of healing. Cats feel safer because they do not cross lines by default. They don't take your proximity for granted. When a cat chooses you, it confirms a value that most of society has forgotten: that love means more when it is entirely voluntary. This is the ultimate social biohack. By surrounding themselves with a creature that values autonomy as much as they do, cat people are subconsciously reinforcing their own self-worth. They are reminding themselves daily that they do not owe anyone a performance. They are practicing the art of detached attachment, a state of being where you can be deeply connected to another without losing your own center. It is a rare and powerful way to move through a world that is constantly trying to pull you into its noise. You aren't just a pet owner. You are a practitioner of a high-level relational philosophy that values depth over demand and respect over possession. In the end, we must realize that loving a cat isn't just a marker of intelligence or a quirk of personality. It is a declaration of values. We live in a world that is terrified of silence, a society that treats solitude as a pathology to be fixed and stillness as a failure to be productive. But for the cat person, quiet is not emptiness. It is the space where clarity forms. It is where emotions organize themselves and where ideas mature instead of evaporating under the heat of constant noise. Modern culture frames the cat person's distance as detachment, but in reality, it is discernment. You aren't withdrawing from the world, you are curating it. You are exercising your fundamental right to live at your own internal pace, to think slowly, and to feel deeply without the need for constant external commentary. Cats validate a truth that society rarely dares to admit: that you have the right to exist without being available to everyone at every moment. This is why the bond between a human and a cat is the ultimate mindset filter. It separates those who need to be masters from those who are content to be companions. It distinguishes the people who chase the loud, performative energy of the crowd from those who find power in the subtle, low-frequency hum of a shared existence. Choosing a cat is a commitment to depth over distraction. It is an acknowledgement that the most profound connections don't require you to sacrifice your autonomy or fragment your focus. When a cat sits beside you, it isn't testing your loyalty or demanding your attention. It is simply existing with you. And for a nervous system that has spent the day navigating the demands, the noise, and the toxic positivity of the modern world, that quiet companionship is exactly what allows you to feel human again. So, perhaps this story was never really about cats. Perhaps it was always about you, about the kind of nervous system you possess, and the kind of world it feels safest in. If you are drawn to the power of indifference, it doesn't mean you are cold, distant, or disconnected. It means you are wired for subtlety. It means you are one of the few who can find security in a connection that doesn't demand constant output. You have realized a secret that the rest of the world is still too loud to hear, that your value isn't found in how much you perform or how loudly you bark. It is found in the stillness of your own center. You don't need the world to wag its tail for you, because you've already mastered the highest form of power, the power to be entirely yourself, in the presence of a creature that asks for nothing less and nothing more. This is the psychology of the cat person, and it is the most sophisticated way to live in an unsophisticated world.